And bring this meeting to order. If you can all rise, we can have the invocation done by our city manager, Andy Pasmut, and after that our Pledge of Allegiance will be done by our Mayor Pro Tem, Shelley Sanderson. If you can please remove all your hats.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for all your wonderful creations that surround us. We thank you for being a God of loving kindness, who's merciful and righteous. We ask that you help our leaders and provide them with the guidance and the wisdom to make the difficult decisions that serve the best interests of this community. May your Holy Spirit bring peace and love to all who call upon your name and help those that are weak in spirit and provide them with your love and comfort. May we always bring honor to you in our conduct and in our actions, and forgive us when we fall short of your expectations. May the heavens and earth always declare your honor and glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join with me to the pledge to our flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Tui.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanderson. Here. Councilmember Herford. Councilmember Sotelo. Here. Councilmember Sykes.
Here. Report out of closed session. Mr. City Attorney, are there any items to report out of tonight's closed session?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The record should reflect that the successor agency convened for closed session for the item of conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, was City of West Covina and City of West Covina Community Development Commission versus Hassan Imports Partnership and related cross complaints and cases. The record should further reflect that all 5 members were present, that a briefing was provided by legal counsel, there was no action taken, and nothing further to report. Moving on to the City Council, the record should reflect that the City Council convened for the special meeting for closed session matters with all 5 members present. The matters under conference with labor negotiators was presented. There was no action taken. Under conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, the same matters as announced previously. Again, there was no final action taken, and the one item under public employment was not discussed, and the council reserves the right to recess back into closed session later this evening if necessary. That concludes my report from closed session.
Thank you. Changes to the agenda, Mr. City Manager. Are there any changes?
Yes, I have 2 changes. One is that we need to pull item number 10 out of the consent calendar, which deals with the CalPERS program, and move it from the consent to the non-consent area. In other words, I'll put it right behind 17. We'll make it number 18 if that's okay with the council. And then we have an addendum to item number 16 with additional names for council to consider as it relates to the Planning Commission appointment.
Okay, and do we need a motion to move the item, or no problem? Thank you. We'll drop down to presentations. If we can have Joel Caldera, please come down here. He's from the 2012 Minor League Division champions, National Little League Brewers. How you doing, Joe? Joe, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your team and your accomplishments?
Well, I'm very proud of the boys. We had a very, first of all, I want to say also congratulations to the Dodgers because they gave us one big fight. TLC and city championships, it was a battle. But our boys, I mean, they moved up from, when we first started, we started slow, but definitely finished strong. And as you can see, boys, this is the end result. Here you are with medals, and now you're going to be honored by, the mayor here. But again, boys did a great job.
No problem.
Okay, first off, Ruben Aguirre. Paul Anderson. Yeah. Amelia Barrios, she's not here today. Ethan Bionis. Joey Calderon. I know. Andre Garcia. Cesar Mesa. Rudy Arteaga. Aaron Rodriguez. Adrian Rios. Pretty smile. Adán Pedrosa. Jonathan Delgado. Okay. Carla Calderon, Team Moms. Cynthia Calderon, Team Mom.
Thank you.
Coach Carlos Delgado. Coach Ruben Aguirre. Gotta come down, get it. Coach Paul Rodriguez. And Coach Jeff Garcia. And myself.
And who else?
Myself. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's go ahead and come down here and get a photo. Everyone, please come down. Yeah, you're going to have to make 2 rows.
Take a knee. Take a knee. Take a knee.
And I'm trying to sneak it back.
You're gonna have to come on the other side. Scrunch in.
Don't worry about pizza.
Start charging. Now they won't go.
Let's have a round of applause again for the 2012 Brewers. Now we have the 2012 Minor Division District 19 champions, the American Little League Dodgers. Bobby Cortez.
Thank you, Mayor.
Go ahead and tell us about your team and what you guys did.
First of all, I want to thank the mayor and the city council for having us here today. Thank you very much. Parents, fans, West Covina residents, thanks for supporting our youth. And, these kids worked really hard, had a great season. Believe they totaled about 28 wins, league champions, district champions, and had a couple great battles with the Brewers. Great little club, Brewers, congratulations. But, boys, congratulations. Enjoy the moment, okay?
Thank you.
Joshua Rodriguez. Joshua? Joshua Rodriguez? Jamie Liel? Ryan Wentz?
Make sure you're looking for your mom.
Christian Echavarria? Diego Franco? Adrian Barajas? Jamie Manny? Isaiah Scoggins?
You ready with your camera, Chief?
Joseph Del Rio? Joao Buhanda? And Robert Cortez. Our team mom, Mallory Cortez. Coach Javier Franco. Coach Anthony Rodriguez. And Coach Roger San Juan. All right, boys, great job.
And who else?
That's me.
Bobby Cortez.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Closing rings.
Andy, the TV's on.
Justin Bieber feels it. Let me get a Starbucks.
Matter of fact, I need him to help me get on my, I usually like to use my agenda. I have Steve's computer and he has mine.
Once again, let's hear it for the minor division District 19 champions, the American Little League Dodgers. Congratulations. Congratulations. I've known your mom ever since she was a little kid.
That's for Grandma to see. Can I get one more picture?
Yeah, we just can't see it.
Okay, now we have the 2012 Major Division City and District 19 champions, the American Little League Padres. If we can have Kurt Leppert, please come down, Kurt. Go ahead and tell us about your team, Kurt.
Well, thank you guys for having us. Thank everybody here for having us tonight. These guys, these boys that are over here have accomplished something that not very many teams have done. They went 30-0, okay? 30 wins for the season, didn't lose one game. And, you know, to do that at any level really is very difficult. And, but yet these boys accomplished it. Boys, I'm super proud of you guys. Good job. And you guys deserve all these awards that you're about to get.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, I'm on. First one is Andrew Lippert. Johnny Lopez. Matthew Kester. Andrew Kester. Mark Aguilar. Malik Aguilar. Orlando Martinez. Duke Cabrera. Cameron Pearson. Hey, that wasn't real. Eric Franco. Team mom and personal favorite, Melody Lippert. Also, team mom, Belen Lopez. Coaches, John Lopez. Bobby Hansen. And Rob Pearson.
And
Now belongs to me.
Kurt, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Can we have everyone please slide down here for a photo?
Coach on this side? Is there a coach on this side? Three. Everybody look forward.
30 and oh.
Jerry's here, that's right.
Come on, Jerry. Once again, the Major Division City and District 19 champions, the American Little League Padres. Congratulations, Kurt. Yep. We're going to give a couple of minutes for them to clear out so we can. I feel like I ran a marathon.
She wants to go first, but she wants to go.
I understand. Okay.
is Crystal. Yeah, it's Crystal Hernandez's cousin.
Okay. Okay, I understand. You guys want to wait till she gets back? Okay. Our first speaker will be Cookie Nance, and on deck is Carolyn Arndt. Cookie?
I just wanted to, Cookie Nance, Eckerman, West Covina. I don't get out here that much anymore, and I just wanted to thank you for serving as our mayor, Mike, and welcome Shelley as our new mayor. And I would also like to thank the council for the dog park. I haven't been coming to the meetings, and we really utilize it. My son takes our dog there a lot, and I really, it was long overdue. I'm glad we have it in our city now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carolyn Arndt, and Herb Bretholtz is on deck. Carolyn?
Yes, good evening to you all. I wanted to give you an update. Steve Herford and Fred Sykes were both in court on October 31st, the Santa Monica court, when our injunction to protect the hill was heard. We have had a tentative ruling, and I have passed that out to a great many people. The judge acknowledged that day that the city, in their brief, had misstatements, had fudged some dates, and in fact even had a blatant lie. So we felt that we had a good showing. We did send 4 vans over there. We wanted the judge to know that the citizens of West Covina want to save that hill. We have another plan, and that is to begin to pull together an initiative that will say that public lands within the confines of the Civic Center cannot be sold for commercial development or housing without going to a ballot and allowing the citizens of West Covina to vote on that. That's the next step, because we're very well aware that no matter what happens this time, it's going to come up again. And we need to protect that space for the future. I would like to thank you for the Veterans Day. It is so important that we acknowledge our veterans while they're living. Les Clemmer is a part of my church, and he was very emotional that day. He had been emotional the day before when he had gone over to see the flags in Covina. that gave you goosebumps. Just absolutely was astounding at both as the sun was setting and again at night with the lights. But he was pleased that he was honored. Sorry that you could not be a part of that, Shelley. It's important that we honor our veterans here in this city while they're alive. And he's the only World War II veteran that I'm aware of. I'm sure there are others, but he's the one who's 93 and still moving around and driving, so it's important that he be honored. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Herb Redholz, then Philip Marino's on deck. Herb, don't get seated.
Timing is everything. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. First of all, I want to congratulate you, Mike, on your election to the Upper District, and thank you for your service to the City Council and the city. Second is agenda item number 13, which is the extension of the contract for the graffiti contractor. I am up here to support that extension 100%. It is my view that the service we received from Timeline Technologies has been exemplary. The graffiti, as far as I've observed, is eradicated 7 days a week, even on weekends and on holidays, and the color matching is a vast improvement over what we've had in the past, as best that it can be, and I would urge you to continue on with this contractor. Number 3 on my little list, I would appreciate an update as to the status of the litigation between Hassan Imports and the City of West Covina. I recall not too long ago we were told or led to believe that some sort of announcement was forthcoming regarding these dealerships. As we all know, as you go by the various dealerships owned by Mr. Al-Hassan, there's no inventory, there's nothing to sell, it's impossible for him to do business. And part of the budget, the balanced budget that was recently adopted, was predicated on future sales tax revenue generated by a new operator coming in. So I would like to know where we stand on that, if that's possible, please. And last, and certainly not least, is item number 16, which is the Planning Commission appointment. As you know, I did submit my application for that appointment. On there, I've spelled out my training, knowledge, and experience that I believe definitely qualifies me for that seat. Also, when you combine that with my continuous, ongoing desire to serve the city and its residents and businesses, I would appreciate your consideration. And I thank you for your time and look forward to the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Philip Marino, and Lloyd Johnson is on deck.
City staff. Let's see. Members of the City Council, members of the staff, members of the audience. First and foremost, I'd like to make a statement. Yesterday, I called the West Covina Police Chief's office. What you're going to hear from me is not a surprise to the chief. He very respectfully returned my call. He and I had a very good conversation. And so when I make my statement, please be aware of the fact that everything I'm saying in here, Frank Wills has already been told about it. That's a courtesy from one law enforcement officer to another one. To the West Covina City Council and the West Covina taxpayers, the subject, cronyism and city contracts being entered into without competitive bidding. Item number 13 on today's City Council agenda is an example of what is wrong with the City of West Covina. The city graffiti removal contract used to be given out after the city put out the graffiti removal contract to a competitive bid. But now the City Council is going to enter into a contract without having a competitive bid process. Why not? Don't the taxpayers deserve to get the best contract that a competitive bid process would secure? There has never been a 5-year graffiti removal contract given out by this city. So why now? Why is Mr. Kennedy being given a 5-year contract? Is it because Mr. Kennedy was the treasurer for the West Covina residents against the recall of council members Hereford, Sanderson, and Toohey? This city is a joke when it comes to city contracts. It has become a pay-to-play city. You cannot get a contract in the city of West Covina unless you contribute to the South Hills City Council members. The taxpayers cannot get the South Hills Council members to put out city contracts to competitive bids. And the city voters must remember this when re-election time comes. This type of governance is cheating the taxpayers of getting the best offer that a competitive bidding process could deliver. This type of governance is, and I put in capital letters, cronyism at its best. Since the city has placed the graffiti removal contract under the police department heading in the city agenda for November the 20th, 2012, then I should surmise that the police chief, Frank Wills, had some input into this process of awarding the graffiti removal contract to Mr. Kennedy without a competitive bid. If not, then he should voice his opposition to this contract extension. I suspect that the South Hills Council members will reward the chief in the future for going along with this sad way of governing this city. Who knows? Maybe we'll make him the next city manager. We asked for a competitive bid behind Athens. You wouldn't listen. What's with the process? What's wrong with competitive bidding for city contracts?
Thank you. Lloyd Johnson and Crystal Hernandez. Lloyd.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Turi and council members. First, I would like to say thank you to Mayor Turi, Councilmember Hereford, Councilmember Sotelo, and Councilmember Sykes for your support for our veterans and always being there without making excuses for not supporting these very important events. I really want to tell Mike Turi, we haven't always seen eye to eye on things for our city, but you know, that's okay. We should be allowed to agree to disagree on things that we feel very passionate about without getting personal. But a lot of people may not know this. The one person who has stood out the most from anyone else and has always been there for our veterans is Michael Turi. I have never known him to miss an event for our veterans when it was put on. The past Veterans Day, he was at 4 different veterans events in the same day, and I was at 2 events with him. And from the bottom of my heart, Mike, as a disabled Vietnam veteran, I will never forget what you have always tried to do for us veterans. And I thank you for being there for us. The leadership will be missed. And about the Field of Valor, this last Veterans Day at Sierra Vista Middle School in Covina, if you missed it, you missed one of the greatest events that's been in the San Gabriel Valley. They had 2,001 flags put up, 3x5 flags up there from 11/4 till 11 on Veterans Day, 11/11. You know, and what an honor I got. I want everybody to know that I got to place the flag of the Medal of Honor recipient that lived in Covina, who died in Vietnam. And he was a medic, and I was so honored to do that, and it really touches me. And the next item I want to talk about is item 13. You know, the extension of the graffiti contract. I would hope this council would grant the extension of the contract. You know, no company is perfect, but they do a good job. Is there parts that could be better? I suppose so. But you won't find anyone that is more dedicated to their job than Glenn Kennedy. No matter what day of the week you call him, he will answer your call and try to take care of the problem. I have never had to call him twice to take care of a problem in my neighborhood. So please grant him the 5-year extension. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. Crystal Hernandez and Nancy Tran is on deck. Crystal.
Good evening. First, I want to say, forgive me if I stutter, forgive me if I repeat myself. This is my big first speech in front of the City Council. I'm just here to say, to give my thanks to the City Council for the great park, Del Norte. I have to say I moved around a couple of times from city to city, and I've noticed that this is a very well put together city. It's very clean. I feel very safe. I really like this park. I live right next to it, right down the street. Every time I drive by, I like all the changes, all the great changes, all the great add-ons to the park. I feel like a lot of families can go and socialize and exercise, and a nice place for kids to have hobbies, keep them out of trouble. I'm an employee at Bath and Furry Works Pet Salon. I work with rescue groups as well, so I just wanted to say thanks for the great dog park there as well. It's a good place to exercise your pets, help and work with, let's say, problem dogs that need to get adopted. And I think that's it. I just think it's really great, and I wanted to come here and support you guys. Like I said, I moved around to a couple of cities, and I have to say that I feel like this is a very well put together, safe, clean. And like I said, I've seen a couple different parks, and I feel safe for my 9-year-old niece to go walking down the street to that park. I feel it's a great place for people to go and for kids to have a place to go for their sports, for their hobbies, etc. Like I said, thank you.
Thank you very much, Crystal. Nancy Tran and Vincent Wong is on deck. Nancy?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Macy Tran. I'm the owner of Bath and Furry Works Pet Salon. And since it was Thanksgiving, I just wanted to say thank you for the dog park.
I'm sorry, Macy, that's my fault.
Oh,
read.
Macy. Yeah, I mentioned it in the West Covina newsletter that we welcome the dog park, and I've been meaning to come out and say thank you for the dog park at Del Norte. I think it has really made a difference in the community, and it provides a safe and secure play area for pets to play and socialize, which makes for calmer and less aggressive animals, and it means they're less likely to attack. And, you know, that can get dogs out of the shelter, and it means less abandoned pets, and, yeah, less overcrowding of the shelters, and we just want to thank you. I just want to suggest maybe a billboard at the park, you know, for maybe upcoming dog events, and if anything, we would like to donate a billboard, if I can do that. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me.
Yes.
Could you, Nancy?
Macy?
Macy, I'm sorry. What was the name of the business? I couldn't.
Oh, Bath and Furry Works. Bath and Furry Works Pet Salon.
Furry Works, okay.
Yes.
And where are you located?
We're on Azusa and Roland, where Stater Brothers is at.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Vincent Wong is our next speaker, and Boris Duarte is on deck.
Good evening. This is my first speech at City. I'm a new resident. I moved to City of West Covina about 2.5 years ago. And now I live in the Shadow Oaks community. It's been great until the last couple of months. I have seen increasing vandalism on properties and also increasing littering. I reported this. My car was vandalized 4 times in the past 3 weeks. The windshield was broken, and I reported to the police department, and they came by, and I actually showed them the video, a couple of school kids who broke the window, and apparently they did not do much about it. I think they went to the school down on Kimberly Drive. That's where I live. I'm the last house on Kimberly Drive. Mr. Council Member Sy is very familiar with that area. I talked to him about that, and there was a little hill a little path leading to the city of La Puente, and supposedly there was a wall, blocking the city of La Puente and West Covina, but there was, obviously they broke it down, and school kids can be walking down freely, and also I have seen. I just caught it on the video tonight. There were kids throwing rocks on my backyard. They almost broke my window. And I was wondering if the city can do something about this. Maybe send some extra patrol or, block that wall again. And, I hope something can be done.
Thank you for your thing. We can send you upstairs to our police chief, and he's waving his hand again. And we can exchange cards and see what he can do. Thank you very much. Boris Duarte, and our last speaker is Dave Sifling. Is Dave still here?
Good evening, council members, City of West Covina, citizens of West Covina, and others present. And even though I have been a long-time citizen of West Covina, this is only my second time speaking before this body. The first time it was when Mr. Hernandez was elected to a state office, and there was a vacancy in this council. I implored at that time Mr. Herford, Mr. Tui, Ms. Sanderson, and Ms. Lane to select someone that was independent, someone that was going to bring diversity to this council. Well, we know how that selection went. To me, it felt like a slap in the face to the citizens of West Covina. He told me that there was total incompetency in this body, or that the council members just wanted to elect someone like them to just push through their programs without taking into account the citizens of West Covina. Luckily, the citizens of West Covina woke up long enough to elect Mr. Sykes to this council and right that wrong. I also respect Ms. Lane for doing the right thing and stepping down. However, with the second vacancy with this council, did exactly the same thing, selecting a yes person that's not independent. It was like replacing one wolf in the hen house for another. The best thing about the last election was that Mr. Tui was elected to a position on the water board. I can only say good luck, good riddance, and good thing that you found something else, because you're living this council with so many problems that it will really take a generation at least to clean them up. Now, I wish I was hopeful that there was going to be someone elected or selected for the vacancy that would be in the same vein as Mr. Sykes, someone independent, someone that would bring just different opinions to this council, but with still Ms. Sanderson, Mr. Herford, and now Mr. Sotelo, I'm not very hopeful. As to Mr. Herford and Mr. Sanderson, too bad the recall effort fizzled, because both of you truly deserve to be removed from this council. Hopefully the ballot box will take care of that in the future. Now, when I refer to this body, I'm excluding Mr. Sykes because he actually cares about the people and listens to them, the citizens of this city. So this takes me to the decision of the trash contract. I read in the paper the day before the council meeting a proposal to turn a bad contract into a nightmare contract by turning it into a 25-year rolling contract. Unfortunately, I had about 4 things going on that day, and so I was unable to come. And I was sure that the council would take their time, deliberate, hear from the citizens, have thoughtful discussions, and also think of other options. And so they would postpone that decision. I don't know what I was thinking, because all of that good, sound decision-making that is required in legislation is missing from this body. All is political. No matter what you say, this is payback for past and future campaign contributions from Athens. The lump payment that this city will receive, the citizens will pay 10 times that amount in future years. What you have done to the city when it comes to this contract is tie the hands of future lawmakers. Most of the people in this room will be dead before the contract can be canceled. What a mess, what a mess. We have to somehow find a way to undo this. Now I became informed of the graffiti contract that's going to be in debate tonight. My understanding is that there's cronyism, as was mentioned, that it belongs to the commissioner, to the brother-in-law of a commissioner, and so on. And so it really brings, again, the sound decision-making that's required of this council into account, and I am not very hopeful that that will take place tonight. I know that when I get off the days that you will rationalize your decisions as to the contract and that you were doing the best that for the citizens of this city, but the truth is that somehow you can't. The citizens of U.S. Covina have to unite because they certainly deserve more. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. This is our last speaker for the night.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I apparently have one more card.
Council members. Dave Siflin, President of the West Covina Police Officers Association. In the past few months, the West Covina Police Officers Association has gone through one of the most difficult negotiations we've ever faced. With a struggling economy and difficult times ahead, we pulled together as an association to make our own impact on the city's budget, agreeing to a 9% pay cut along with other concessions. We did this in hopes to save the city from what we were been told by Tom Bachman was a fiscal emergency, looking at a deficit of about $7 million. The West Covina Police Department has always been one of the premier police departments in the state of California. But in the last several years, we've seen cuts to public safety and a rise in crime that has impacted the police department and affects everyone who lives here. In fact, the San Gabriel Tribune has reported in October this year an 18% rise in violent crimes. We should be holding what we've once had instead of cutting nearly 30% of our public safety. The cuts in the past few years have been, we no longer have school resource officers. We've lost our great gang resistance education and training program in our schools. We no longer have a family or youth diversion program. We no longer have a graffiti abatement team. We no longer have a parks and commercial enforcement team. We've lost a K-9 position. We've lost staffing positions from commander, lieutenant, sergeant, corporals, and officers that were completely eliminated. We've lost several detective positions that impact our ability to quickly follow up on crimes and criminal activity in the city. We've lost 6 motor officers and 1 traffic enforcement car. Once it was an 11-man unit, now only 4. And as a result, we've seen a rise in traffic collisions and a rise in collisions involving children as well. The police department has been cut from an authorized 128 sworn police officers down to just 90, and that's 38 police officers. This is equivalent to a 0.85 officers per 1,000 residents, when the national average is 1.9 per 1,000 residents. It's safe to say that we are the lowest in the nation on officer per capita. But this year, our POA negotiation team met with Assistant City Manager Tom Bachman, who gave a confusing outlook and a different set of doom and gloom numbers each time the POA met with the city, meeting for a meeting. Tom Bachman continued to tell the POA that the city was in a fiscal emergency, facing nearly a $7 million deficit. In fact, each time that we had a meeting, the numbers would change from approximately $7 million to 6.5, and asked our POA to take nearly a 27% pay and benefit cut to close the city's deficit. When Tom Bachman was asked why City Manager Andy Pasmat wrote a letter to Councilman Steve Herford dated March of 2012, stating that the city did have a balanced budget, contradicting his information, his reply was, "I didn't write that letter. It didn't come from me." Tom Bachman gave inconsistent information to our POA, as we believe he gave misguided information to this council, information that did not match given to other bargaining groups. For example, the POA was told one budget deficit while the fire union was told a completely different number at the same time. We're concerned that Tom Bachman didn't give the council the correct information or the same information the POA was given. The POA gave several proposals that were supposed to be given directly to council, only to be changed to his own format to make it confusing and seem like it wasn't enough to save the city from this fiscal emergency. Back on May 11th of this year, the POA requested Tom Bachman's financial public records that would show how much he makes and what he benefits from receiving from the city. The city refused to disclose this information on June 7th of this year, and after multiple correspondence, refused again on September 17th of this year. Tom Bachman refused to provide us with his own public information, and as of this day, 194 days later, we still haven't received anything. What does he have to hide? We don't know. This in itself shows the inability to be transparent and proves to the West Covina Police Officers Association that integrity is an issue. But in the end, we did agree to a 9% pay cut along with other concessions, assisting the city in closing an approximately $2 million budget gap in a so-called fiscal emergency that Tom Bachman was leading us to believe, only to learn after signing the contract that Tom Bachman reported a balanced budget with raises handed out. What happened to the millions of dollars that the city was facing in a fiscal emergency? A $7 million minus $2 million does not equal zero. And where are his public records requesting his pay and his benefits? We do not know. We believe he was as dishonest with us as he has been with this city council, misleading the council. It is for all the reasons discussed tonight that the West Covina Police Officers Association voted unanimously a vote of no confidence for Assistant City Manager Tom Bachman. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Jerry Curcio.
Mayor Tui, council members, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight. Mayor, I want to thank you and the council members for all that you've done for our city. Born, raised, lived in the house that I've grown up in, and I'm so proud to say that you're my mayor and that you're my council members. Thank you very much. We will miss you. I don't care what anybody else says. They're wrong. You've given your life for this city, and I appreciate it. I would do an injustice for my friend if I didn't stand tonight, and I want you to know that, I've known Glenn Kennedy for many years and his brother all my life. And why should you give him this extension? Because he cares. Because he wants this city to look its best. And it's never looked better. Never. We've had contractors before that have done an okay job. But sometimes when they leave, what they've done looks worse than when they found it. When Glenn leaves, he's matched the color of the existing color. I'm grateful that I have him to keep this city clean. He goes to all the parks, and he makes sure that every one of them are nice, because there's kids there, and their families, and they do look nice. And I know that Councilmember Sykes, he bends over backwards for you. He does. He's at your beck and call when you call on him to come down to your area, isn't he? He is, isn't he?
You have to address the comments to me, Jerry.
I'm sorry. I just want you to know that I'm passionate about this. And I really, really believe that you need to extend this contract in the favor of his company. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. That is our last speaker. I just want to make sure, because this is the first I've heard that we have a public records request we have not responded to. I know we're supposed to list everyone's salary on our website, so I want to make sure that is being done. And if we can address the question on the records request and why it wasn't dealt with timely.
I will
Mr. City Manager.
be happy to meet with the POA rep on that information, but as you indicated, it is on our website. It still remains on our website. It's also on the State Controller's website as well in terms of the benefits that are paid. Unfortunately, being involved in negotiations, it's never an easy job. It's one of the toughest jobs that you have to deal with, especially in bad times. And Mr. Bachman, I think, has done an admirable job in doing what he had to do. The numbers that have been presented to the unions are all, excuse me, are all correct numbers. We've kept the council informed of the changes as legislation changed. One of the big impacts, as you well know, has been the loss of redevelopment. And even to this day, a lot of the legislation and the interpretation of the law continues to change, and those numbers are still changing. We have meet and confer meetings that have been scheduled with the Department of Finance to continue our fight on trying to hold on to those funds, but everything that's been provided is public record and is on our website.
I understand that, but when a Freedom of Information Act is filed, I believe it should be addressed in the 10 days, which is accounted for by law. Whether they can find the information publicly or not is irrelevant to the statute.
I absolutely agree.
And I believe we need to comply to the statute immediately.
And I will look into that immediately.
No problem. If we can get an answer back to Dave. Is there any other questions? If not, we're moving to the consent calendar. We'll drop down to the consent calendar. Is there any item any member of the City Council wishes to remove from the consent calendar?
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Fred Sykes.
If I may, please, the 13 is on the consent calendar. That's the contract for graffiti abatement.
No problem, and we also need to make sure for the record once again that item number 10 has been moved, and it is now item number 18, and it's no longer on the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion. We approve the remainder.
Excuse me.
Hold on.
I'd like to pull item number 4 for discussion.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion other than item 4, 10 being moved, and number 13.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes 4-0. Now we go to the first one is item number 4. Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
It was Mr. Sotelo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Was that a 4-0 or a 5-0?
5-0. What'd I say?
4-0.
Who knows? Maybe I didn't vote.
You're already gone.
Can we escort Hereford? Okay, item number 4, Councilmember Sotelo.
Item number 4, the adoption and registration of maintenance, security, and properties in foreclosure. I was reading through this thing and I never found the fee. I saw it on the fee and charge, but I just wondered how come we didn't have the $375 that was the fee in the ordinance. We have the fines and everything else, but we don't have the fee.
The fee is contained within the fee and charge, and I believe that'll be addressed at that time when we do that item on the agenda.
I think he's asking why isn't it that, because it fluctuates and it has to be, otherwise you'd have to change a resolution, or is that?
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, our fees are generally found in a fee resolution, so we will bring back an amendment to that fee resolution as opposed to being part of an ordinance. If you are going to change a fee that's part of an ordinance, you've got to go through a first reading, second reading, and it really is cumbersome to the adjustment of that fee. With a resolution, you just need one reading, so that will be addressed in an upcoming fee resolution.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Do I have a motion on item number 4?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 5-0 this time. Okay, we drop down to item number 13, graffiti removal service contract. Councilmember Sykes.
Thank you, Mayor Tui. First of all, appearances are important to us as a body, and when we granted this contract, I thought that was a bit of a problem with the fact that Mr. Kennedy is a commissioner, and it appears that there is some connection there that would give the company that he represents a unfair advantage. So to me, that's still a problem with appearances of conflict of interest. And the next thing, the chief, is he available? Chief, can you tell us what has been the protocol in the way of our contracts in the past 7 years or so? How long do we grant the contract for? What's the usual practice, please? Thank you.
Historically, 3 years. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Sorry. 3 years.
Okay, so it's normally 3 years is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. The gentleman, one of the speakers who did address me directly to answer a question, and the answer is affirmative. I stay in touch with our graffiti abatement as well as the county graffiti abatement almost daily because I am out in the community. And I hope that Mr. Wong was able to convey to you a little bit off subject just briefly about the other incidents that have happened in his neighborhood with the auto thefts, auto break-ins, and as well as some of our cluster boxes. So we need some relief down there, and I hope Mr. Wong conveyed that to you. Anyway, back on the subject of the graffiti. I am pleased with most of his service and what the company offers. I am, in addition to the appearance in the way of conflict of interest. I am concerned about what I see in our primary lighting street lights, the poles themselves. We have, when I moved here in 1978, in particular where the area south of Francisquito, I believe, we have subterranean infrastructure. And with that subterranean infrastructure, all our poles, especially on the major streets, have a marbling type cement finish. It's a very nice, very attractive to me finish. So can you please tell me, on our major streets, have you noticed what I noticed in regards to the marring of that finish from like 6 feet down? It doesn't have that marbling finish because it's just a gray paint. Have you seen that?
I haven't noticed that personally, not to say that that's not the case.
Okay, I may have to take you on a tour.
I'd enjoy that.
Because in my neighborhood, there are an abundance of our major primary street light poles that have been, what I say, defaced, first by the graffiti vandals and then by the contractors. Now, I know that when I first started getting involved, that I didn't notice this type of marring to the finish. So that was back in roughly 2005, 2006. But then subsequently, and I'm sure there have been a number of residents, I don't have the exact times and dates, and along with myself, we brought this to the attention, the color matching, which Mr. Kennedy takes very good care of that. The color matching is very well. But we still have yet to get the restoration of the primary light poles. So I would like for someone to explain, since we don't have an open bid, to address this issue, because I would put that to a company that would do, that would want the contract. I would ask them, what would be the procedure for correcting this, where it's like a gray, sort of like a gel color, from 6 feet down to the ground, that covers up the graffiti, but it also mars the finish. And so, since you didn't notice that, but do you know what it would take to correct that, especially the major streets? I wouldn't say everyone immediately should be done. I'd like to see that done eventually, but just the major streets. So just take one poll and just tell me, have you discussed that? Or if the contractor is here to tell us how that's done to restore that finish, I'd like to hear that, sir. Please.
I don't know that the contractor is here tonight. It's something that Public Works Director may be able to help how to restore that finish. Certainly not my area of expertise, but I do understand.
Mayor, let me jump in here because all of the light poles in the city are owned by Southern California Edison. And over the years, I've asked the same question. You know, our graffiti people go out and they paint the poles. Sometimes they're the green steel poles, sometimes they're the marble poles or whatever. Southern California Edison doesn't have a graffiti person in the city every day. And I work for the company, and I'm not defending them in any way, shape, or form. But I have been told that it's their property. They have a graffiti person that takes care of poles throughout their service territory. But if we waited for them to come out and clean the poles or do the marbling and power wash them, we'd probably be waiting 2 months. So the quickest way we've found, I believe, over the years is to paint them with a gray color. Now, that's not the best solution. I could support Southern California Edison doing what they have to do to our poles to make them look nice. I don't have a problem asking that question, but it's their property. They're the ones who really should be responsible for it. You know, we have a pretty unique program in this city because we go out to businesses and we don't charge them anything, and we paint over the graffiti. I mean, we're at, I think the graffiti guy told me he was at Manny's El Loco the other day with a bright yellow paint and painting over graffiti there. So the program we offered to the residents of business is pretty incredible. But getting back to the power poles, it's really a Southern California Edison problem. We do the best we can. If we want to bring up the subject with Edison, I think that's perfectly fine. I think that's a good discussion topic.
And so if I understand you correctly, that when it comes to our Edison poles, we actually have two entities that address those poles, if I understood you correctly. We have Southern California Edison, the company that has an abatement group, and then plus we have the one that we contract with. And so, but I still don't have the answer as to how that's done, whether it's power washing, sandblasting,
or a little of both.
Or a little of both.
Well,
as to how
and
to
the difference
store it.
is, Southern California Edison and all their cities, and like I say, I work for the company, but I'm not defending them in this procedure. They have, and I've asked this question because of the same thing. In my neighborhood, I've got different colored poles, and I'm not crazy about it either. But they have one crew that goes throughout their service territory in the LA area here and cleans up graffiti. And it's just like in LA, where you drive down there and it's just graffiti everywhere. They don't get around to it as fast as we want them to. So in that case, our graffiti guys, just our contractor, just like we do at businesses, matches to the best of his ability. So so we get it off in 24 hours. That's the intent there. So.
Okay, well, in wrapping up my perspective on it, I would definitely appreciate if we could get a sort of written response on that. And I am concerned when we continue with this format of, and this protocol that we have right now of none bidding on our contracts. I think this is not with this contract in particular, because there is a clause there that says if the residents are disapproved, that in 30 days we can address that issue, and if we need another company, it can be done. But with Anthony's, we don't have that, and if people aren't aware, that contract is 25 years with the rolling clause. And I think that's why some of the people are concerned when they come up here and they talk about the no-bid situation that's happening with our city. And again, with the Anthony situation, just so people clearly understand it, if 2 or 3 years from now, one of the members of the community or a group become somewhat disturbed by the cost or whatever they discern that they don't appreciate, it's going to first take a city council that's going to be able to have the courage to say, okay, we'll stop the rolling clause. Because when you do that, if you read the contract, there's some severe punishments that are going to be involved with stopping that automatic renewal every year. Because, say, 3 years from now, it doesn't mean that it's going to drop back to 22 years.
Are you still in the graffiti contract?
Yes, Mayor. And it doesn't mean that it's going to drop back. It means that first you have to address the evergreen situation with the contract. Then you count down the 25 years before anything can be done. And so, again, I think that's extremely alarming that we're having this no-bid situation take place in our city, because it does strap us in. But this one, fortunately for that little caveat that says the written part, and so because of the financial straits that we're in and so forth, my main concern is what I voiced tonight. I will support the contract going forward with additional 5 years. But like I say, I am concerned about the finish on the poles. I'd like to have that addressed, and of course the appearance of the again the conflict of interest that bothers me. But again, he came in with the best price when the open bid was done, and that's where we are at this time. So we'll go forward from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The only thing I have to say, number one, I would be concerned if you went through and sandblasted half the poles, all the poles halfway up, because that's not going to match either. So it just gets what matters of what you can want to consider is better or worse out there. Number one, it is someone else's property. Every company, most of the companies we paint may have their own paint crews, like the mall, but we still will do the graffiti to comply with, trying to get it off as soon as possible, even though they have someone to do it. So it's kids catch, no matter what you do, you're going to blame someone else. If it doesn't match, then we can't afford either, unless you want to continue to have your rates increase from Edison to have all those poles replaced. We only own the poles around City Hall. Any of the globes you see, those are light poles owned by the city. Other than that, 99.99% of the poles are owned by Edison. And I'm telling you, you can't just afford to wholesale replace one every time it's graffitied or there's a problem. I mean, we need to deal with the people that do the graffiti. We had a gentleman come up here and say people throw trash in his neighborhood. Well, we have people that throw trash in our neighborhood. I go out to the street and pick it up. I don't phone the police department. That is not what I believe is the best use of our resources. It's best to go out there and pick up the trash that someone may have littered. I mean, I just don't know what type of resources we want our police department doing. I would rather have them patrolling our streets than do that particular one. We just approved, without going out to bid, I don't believe, an extension of Valley Light Industry, which some of them were this year, their contract, which they're on the agenda. They were item number 11, and no one said anything. That's what's ironic. It was the same thing. They do a great job, Valley Light Industries. They use mentally disabled adults, and they do a great program and do it. And you normally reward people that are doing good programs. I don't understand anything else. And again, it was it was just 2 items ago. Valley Light Industry had 2 different contracts on the agenda that were extended for up to 5 years, just a minute ago, and nothing was said. So I'm saying it's weird how some people get isolated out on this, just because he's a resident of our city and that he does not have the same rights apparently some other resident does. When you hear people say something negative at this council chambers, if it's against us, it's a God's honest truth. If someone speaks for us, there's a problem. The residents have spoken. With all due respect, when the Athens contract did come before us, sir, more residents spoke in favor of the contract than against it. But it wasn't that the people spoke. It's only when the item they want, the people spoke when it's against us. So when the 6 people spoke against the contract and the 38 people spoke for the contract, the 6 people should win, because the other residents, they said, haven't come to as many meetings as we have. I thought a resident counts equally. If you're a resident, Mr. Duarte pointed out, he doesn't come a lot. I respect his opinion shouldn't be any more or less than someone who may come more often or less often. They should be equal, and they were discredited because they don't come every meeting. Well, he even admitted he had something going, and a lot of people do. Not everyone comes to our meetings. We have the same 20 every meeting, and there's 111,980 people missing. They may have other things to do, or they're happy with the services. So, I mean, I believe the graffiti contractor is doing a great job. They respond, and Glenn is not our graffiti contractor, even though that was stated. Mark Kennedy is our graffiti contractor, and that's who owns Timeline Technology, not Glenn Kennedy. I have no problem looking at it. I think he's done a great job. Mayor Pro Tem Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to mention some things that have been made in reference to the graffiti contract, that there was no open bid process, et cetera. On July 19th, if you look at the staff report under the discussion, the City Council agenda is items number 7th. On July 19th, 2011, after considering bid proposals from multiple vendors, the City Council awarded the graffiti removal service contract to Timeline Technology. So we do look at service contracts, we do look at proposals, we do this is our job, and I think that this council looks at all those items and makes the best decision possible. When I was first elected and back in 2001, the contractor at that time was the Boys and Girls Club, and I can't recall, but I think they had the contract for like over 20 years or something. It was quite a long time, and I remember there was a lot of complaints back then. And then we had gotten 2 other contracts in between, and we had a lot of complaints back then. So I'm looking at this contract because since July 19th, 2011, even prior, I believe this particular contractor was actually doing our city for free and you know, kind of following up, making sure, because he did care about the community and the business does care. And I actually think that our cities looked great for this last year, and I'm very impressed and extremely supportive of this contract this evening because of what I see in front of me and what I have seen over the last year of this service being provided. And you know, things can be said, but you got to look at the bottom line. You got to look at what you're looking at, the cost. And I am very proud to live in the city of West Covina. I'm glad I'm raising my family here. This is a fantastic city. We have a balanced budget. We have so many new businesses opening. Our streets are being repaved. I mean, I have nothing but compliments from the residents I run into on a daily basis. As a matter of fact, I talked to a couple residents today that I ran into over at Office Depot, and they are so excited with all the new things and all the new projects coming to our community. And I think that the council has done a very fantastic job, and I'm honored and proud to be a part of that. And again, I will give this contract my 100% support this evening. So thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion, or?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Hold on, Councilmember Sykes.
I just want to make sure that there's no confusion as to what was stated by the gentleman that spoke on being a victim of various crimes. It wasn't just a simple matter of talking about littering. It was said in a context of being victimized or being a victim of a rash.
I don't mean to be rude. Can we have a point of order? Maybe discuss that not during this. We'll take the motion, and then we have the end of the council meeting, because I know you want to clear the air, but I'd like to just get through the
I'm
item.
almost done, ma'am.
Okay.
If you just let me
It's up to the
finish.
mayor. Thank you.
Again,
Mr.
I just
Mayor,
want to make
I want to
sure.
make sure the council is aware, we do have the body of law called the Brown Act, and we have a matter with a motion and a second. And really, the only discussion that is supposed to take place is on the motion and the second. It's up to the chair and the balance of the council, but you know, this is the second time tonight we've kind of fallen astray.
Finish up, Fred, so we can go ahead and we have council communications.
Thank you, Mayor. The bottom line is the gentleman talked about a rash of incidents. It wasn't just littering, so I just don't want that to be his anguish to be belittled. It was more than just littering that he talked about. That's what I wanted to make clear. Thank you.
And I fully agree with that. Okay, we have a motion and a second, correct?
Which motion? Which item are you making the motion for?
On item number 13.
I mean, there's 3 options. Is it number 3? Is that what the motion's for?
Yes.
Okay. I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for the contract for option number 3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes 5-0. We drop down to our public hearings. General Plan Amendment number 08-02, Code Amendment number 12-08, Zone Change. I shouldn't have read the heading, but Zone Change number 12-02, Housing Element Update 2008 through 2014. This matter set for a public hearing consists of the review of the General Plan Amendment to update the housing element, a code amendment to add emergency shelter standards, supportive housing standards, and mixed-use overlay zone standards, and a zone change to add the mixed-use overlay zone onto the zoning designation in the Central Business District. Will the city clerk verify that proper legal notice has been given?
Yes, that's verified.
At this time, I shall open up the public hearing for the housing element update, which requires the approval of the general plan amendment number 08-02, code amendment number 12-01, zone change number 12-02. There will first be the presentation of the staff report, then we shall hear from those in favor of the proposal, then those opposed. Mr. Pasmat, who will present the staff report.
Mr. Anderson will do that report.
Jeff.
Yes, thank you. Tonight, we have a hearing to review the proposed update to the housing element of the general plan. The housing element update includes new goals and policies that necessitate additional entitlements that are also scheduled for review tonight. The applications to be reviewed tonight have been covered by the mayor, the general plan amendment, which draft housing element update, a draft revision to the land use element of the general plan, and revisions to the general plan map. Secondly, a code amendment, which includes amendments to the municipal code for emergency shelters for homeless, efficiency units, and a mixed-use overlay zone. And lastly, a zone change to add the mixed-use overlay zone to the central business district. I'd like to introduce our housing consultant, Alexa Washburn. She's going to provide the report on the housing element update and process. And after she's done, then I'm going to provide a report on the land use element, other revision to the general plan map, and the code amendments and the zone change. Alexa.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. My name is Alexa Washburn, and I've been working closely with the planning staff in the city over the past 3 to 4 years to update the city's 2008 to 2014 housing element. Tonight, I'd like to walk the council and the public through the housing element process, discuss West Covina's Regional Housing Need Assessment, or RHNA allocation, present the strategies we utilize to meet the city's RHNA, and highlight key programs in the housing plan. So what does a housing element do? Well, it sets city's policies and goals related to housing. The general plan is the city's blueprint for guiding physical development and setting city policies. And the housing element is one of 7 state-mandated elements of the general plan. It is the only general plan element that requires review and certification by a state agency. And that state agency is the California Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD. The housing element also identifies housing needs in the city for all income groups. Income groups are broken down into 4 categories: very low income, moderate income, and even above moderate income. There's also certain segments of the population that may have more difficulty finding decent, affordable housing due to their special needs. So we also address the special needs groups, such as the elderly, disabled persons, mentally disabled and developmentally disabled, large household, single-parent households, as well as the homeless. And lastly, the housing element defines initiatives and programs that the city will pursue to achieve those housing goals that we've set. So what does a housing element not do? It does not require the city to build housing. The state recognizes that the role of the city is not to build or construct housing, but to create opportunities in your land use plan and your zoning map to facilitate development of housing through policies. There are consequences of not having a state-certified housing element. There's a potential loss of current funding or potential future funding. Several grants are tied to a certified housing element, such as Prop 1C funding, future transportation funding, as well as infrastructure funding. A non-certified housing element also leaves the city susceptible to lawsuits. Again, the general plan or the housing element is one of 7 elements of the general plan, so therefore if your housing element isn't certified, your entire general plan is out of compliance. Another consequence is the allocated RHNA units are rolled over to the next planning period. If this element is not certified by the city, then we have to address 3 planning cycles, so 3 or a multiplier of units. And then lastly, a consequence is that we would revert from an 8-year cycle back to a 4-year cycle, so thereby updating your housing element every 4 years as opposed to every 8 years. So the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, or RHNA, starts up at the state, where HCD distributes the state housing need to all the Regional Council of Governments. The Regional Council of Government for Southern California is SCAG. So SCAG distributes the regional housing need to all the local jurisdictions. So therefore, the state and SCAG has determined that the City of West Covina's housing need for the planning period of 2008 to 2014 is 2,462 units, broken down into the 4 income categories as shown in the table here. I want to give a brief history on the city's housing element. The last adopted and certified housing element covered the planning period from 1995 to 2000. The 2000 to 2005 housing element was not adopted or certified by HCD. So a consequence of that is that the city has to plan for current and previous planning periods, and that's per state law. That's Assembly Bill 1233 that requires that. So the previous planning period was from 2000 to 2005, and the current planning period is 2008 to 2014, and we include interim years. So because the city did not have a certified housing element for the 2000 to 2005 planning period, Assembly Bill 1233 requires the city to carry forward any units that were not accommodated. So the RENA for the 2000 to 2005 planning period is shown here, a total of 1,096 units broken down into the 4 income categories. The RENA for the 2008 to 2014 planning period is now shown here, a total of 2,462 units broken down into the 4 income categories. So the total fair share allocation for the City of West Covina for the combined planning periods is 3,724 units. Of the total, approximately 24% of the units are allocated to very low, 16% to low income, 19% to moderate income, and 49% for market rate or above moderate income. We utilize 3 strategies to accommodate the city's RENA. The state allows us to credit any residential units that have been constructed or approved since January 2006. We also look to accommodate units on any vacant residentially zoned land, but given the built-out nature of the city, this strategy was not as successful as the next one, which is accommodating remaining units on land that's to be rezoned, focusing development in specific areas, this being the central business district, while preserving other areas of the city, the existing single-family neighborhoods. So after we utilized that first strategy of crediting units, this reduced the RENA from 3,724 units to 1,536 units. So quite a bit of units were built or constructed or approved. So that leads us to the second strategy, which was to identify sites. So to accommodate the city's remaining RENA at densities appropriate for lower income, the housing element facilitates the creation of a mixed-use overlay within the city's central business district. This new mixed-use overlay zone requires and encourages the development of high-density residential uses, but it also allows for a mixture of residential and non-residential development. The application of the overlay zone will require residential development at a minimum density of 30 dwelling units per acre, and that's per state law, and a maximum density of 75 dwelling units per acre. So while the mixed-use overlay will be applied to the entire central business district, which totals 250 acres, we've identified 8 potential sites to show examples to HCD, proving that there is development potential within the central business district. These are not projects or project sites, and the city is not marketing them. These are simply examples to prove to HCD that there is development potential within the central business district. So as shown on this slide, these are the first 4 sites. This slide shows sites 5 through 8. And again, these are just examples. So this chart just shows that with the 8 identified sites, which total 70 acres, we're more than able to accommodate the city's remaining RENA. I also wanted to highlight a few key housing programs that are in the housing plan. Action 5.3, which particularly relates to emergency housing. State law does require jurisdictions to allow for housing that meets the needs of extremely low-income residents. And so to do this, the city is going to amend the zoning code to allow emergency shelters in the light manufacturing or M1 zone. Also efficiency units in the multiple family 45 or MF45 zone, and transitional housing in the residential zones. Again, that's Action 5.3. This is required by Senate Bill 2. We've also included several programs that offer incentives for the development of affordable housing. Incentives could include fast-track processing, fee waivers, density bonus. These will be given on a case-by-case basis. And then another last key housing program is the Housing Improvement and Preservation Program. As and when funding is available, we would like to still preserve and improve those existing residential units, focusing on those single-family as well as the multifamily existing developments. So those are just a few highlights of the housing program. I want to end my presentation just stressing the benefits of a certified housing element. This will allow for a streamlined process for the 2014 to 2021 housing element update, which is just around the corner. We actually have to turn around and update it in October 2013. So by adopting and getting the current housing element certified, we'll be able to utilize the same sites. We will not have a rollover of units, and will revert to that 8-year cycle instead of the 4-year cycle. Also, having a certified housing element gives the city timely access to state infrastructure bonds for capital improvement projects, access to CDBG and home funds. It also allows us to direct growth in the community. You know, we've chosen the Central Business District to direct new growth. It's located in proximity to transit and transportation corridors within walking distance to services, thereby achieving a jobs housing balance and reducing traffic impacts. And lastly, this allows us to retain that local employment base. So that ends my presentation on the housing element portion. Do we want to open it up for questions, or?
I'll probably just go for, unless you have questions, we'll go on. But if you have questions, it would now be an appropriate time to ask those questions.
I have one question. You keep on saying emergency temporary housing. You're saying homeless shelters are statutory required for us to approve them in certain areas. They're by right from now on.
Correct.
That was an issue that came up before, and you're also talking by right that we have to allow in areas that still has to go through our process, but anywhere from 31 to 75 units per acre.
Correct. That's correct.
By right.
Yes, yes. Senate Bill 2, it's state law that all cities in California have to choose a zone. We've chosen the light manufacturing zone to permit.
I understand. It was just an issue that came up, and some other issues that approving the new housing element brings in homeless shelters and 30 to 75 units per acre. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
All right. We'll go on with the rest of the presentation. I'm going to cover the general plan land use element revisions, the general plan map changes, the code amendments, and the zone changes. The general plan amendment includes 3 modifications to the general plan. One is the housing element update, which Alexa just covered. And if approved by the council, the proposed housing element will replace the existing housing element that was adopted in 1985. Secondly, we have revisions to the land use element of the general plan. And third, we have revisions to the general plan map, both of which I'm going to cover in my report. The draft revisions to the land use element of the general plan can be found in attachment 2, Exhibit C of the staff report. The proposed revisions to the land use element include the following: provision of an outline numbering system, combining the goals into lists. It's adding some goals in regards to mixed-use development. Currently, those are spread throughout the text. It's deleting the mixed-use development designation, which was actually just adopted last year with the WICS project. It's creating the Central Business District mixed-use development designation in the Central Business District area, which I'll show you a map of in just a moment. And there's some other associated changes to maintain consistency with the Central Business District while allowing residential development as well. This is a map that shows the changes proposed for the general plan land use designation map. The area shown is the Central Business District, which is defined in the general plan currently as an area but not as a designation. The proposal here is to change the area currently defined as a Central Business District to the Central Business District / mixed use designation. The Central Business District area currently has a variety of land use designations which are indicated before you on the slide. The code amendment has three parts to it: the emergency shelters for the homeless section, efficiency units, and the mixed-use overlay zone. So first, regarding emergency shelters, it would be an allowed use permitted by right in the manufacturing zone. Shelters would have a maximum capacity of 30 occupants. And I'm just covering a few of them. There's a lot of other standards. This is probably about a third of the standards, but these are the ones that are probably the most important to understand. It would operate on a first-come, first-served basis. Clients must be admitted between 6 p.m. and 7 a.m., and clients must vacate the facility by 8 a.m. There's a minimum distance of 300 feet must be maintained between emergency shelters. Requires one staff member per 15 beds. And a waiting area must be provided that is visually separated from public view. The facility must provide a minimum of one toilet and one shower for every 8 beds per gender, and a private shower and toilet facility for each area designated for families. It also requires the submittal of an operational plan that's reviewed by both planning and the police department. Efficiency units, sometimes called single-room occupancies, are very small units that are transitional housing for people who are trying to move from homelessness into more of a static living environment. They would be an allowed use in the multiple family or the MF45 zone. Minimum unit size is between 150 square feet and 400 square feet. Maximum occupancy is 2 persons per unit. It must provide on-site laundry facilities for the tenants. It must provide a cleaning supply room on each floor. And each unit must provide a bathroom, a kitchen, and a closet. All units must comply with the California Building Code. And an efficiency unit project must not be located within 300 feet of another efficiency unit project. And projects with more than 10 units must provide on-site management. Lastly, tenants must reside a minimum of 30 days in an efficiency unit. Lastly, in the code amendment, we have the mixed-use overlay zone. It is a minimum density of 30 units per acre and a maximum of 75, as was covered. And just for point of clarification there, the Wicks project was about a little bit under, but I think it was right around 75 units per acre. That gives you an idea of the density. The mixed-use overlay zone allows a total of 1,700 units, so it caps it at 1,700. That is the way we achieve the arena without opening the door all the way. A minimum lot size of 1.5 acres is required. Maximum lot coverage of 70% is allowed. Residential projects would require a minimum separation of 25 feet between a single-story project and a single-family development, and 40 feet when a project is more than a single story. Maximum building height is 75 feet or 5 stories. Requires private open space and common open space. And off-street parking requirements are 1.5 spaces per studio and 1 bedroom, and 2 spaces per units with 2 bedrooms, and 1 guest parking space for every 4 units. We also have design standards that are incorporated into those standards. Lastly, we have the zone change. This is a map of the proposed zone change. It would make it consistent with the general plan map changes. The zone change would place the mixed-use overlay zone onto the current zoning designations in the Central Business District. You can see listed before you there the current zones that are there that would not change. The uses that are allowed in those zones would continue. We did take out or accept the Civic Center area and the Wicks development. Wicks mainly because they had a specific plan. They're in the pipeline for development. We didn't want to cause any confusion in that process. Lastly, following the adoption of the housing element update by the City Council, staff will forward the document to HCD for review and certification. And I might note that we did send a letter in March, I think it was March, providing some information on what we were intending to do to HCD. They did send us a letter back stating that it was in compliance with state law. With that, we feel that we have a pretty good chance of getting certified if approved by the City Council. So that's our presentation tonight. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
When did you say that? Send that? When in March?
No, we got the letter on April 1st back from them. I think.
So we would have sent it 60 days prior.
I'm sorry, April 30th. So we probably sent it March 1st, on and around March 1st. And we have a letter from HCD that stated the April 30th.
Yeah. Thank you. Does anyone else have questions of staff at this time? The one other question I have when you use transitional housing, because I don't think everyone understands, you're talking about longer-term type of homelessness. You're just talking about people that may have, Covina runs it, where you allow people to get on their feet, but they may be there for 6 months, and then they transition out. It's a lot less than it's a lot more than a short-term type facility.
Right, yes.
And the other one, you mentioned by right at 8 o'clock in the morning, they must kick out all the homeless people out of the shelters, and where do they go?
They must leave the shelter, or else to allow them to be cleaned up, But yeah, that's a good question. Where do they go?
No problem. Okay, if we have no other questions, we'll drop down to, if there's no other questions of staff by council, we'll drop down. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this? I have no cards from anyone. Seeing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes. It's a public hearing, sir.
I'm glad I'm here at this meeting. Being in law enforcement, we heard that we had a reduced number of law enforcement officers. I would suggest that the council ask input from two bodies. Number one, the school district. You're going to impact the local grade schools if you have people that are moving here with young kids. Well, if you take a look at West Covina, our parks back up against schools. So what is the effect on the local schools right around this transitional zone that we're going to have? And number two, LAPD sent representatives to the tombs in New York, and they wanted to know what the problems of high density buildings were. At night, New York cops don't go into the tombs because the drug dealers pay kids to drop bricks on the radio cars, and it crushes the top and probably hits the guys inside. So we need an input from the chief and the POA as to the numbers of officers that we have. Are we going to increase the number of officers for the density now? You're bringing in more people into a given area. I live just north of that. So I have to have the number of officers that I need to protect the rights of civilians and property. You can understand that there's graffiti as it is. But the other one is, how is this transitional zone going to affect the local schools? Is just one side of the town going to take more kids and another side of town not? That's not fair to this side of town, if that's the case. So I would like two bodies to have an input to this process, the school district and the local police department. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Good evening. This is neither for nor against, because we certainly need a housing plan. I am concerned about a couple of things. Part of the plan includes, by right, building a second house or facility on a private lot. I'm concerned if we give people the right to have a little studio or a little house on their lot. Now, I realize the lot would have to be large enough. I'm worried about this. We already have almost a plague of not permitted converted garages that people are living in, and also in structures. I'm concerned that this might be a can of worms to let people know that they can put a structure on their house. And there's even a comment in the plan that says we can encourage people to do this because it would be income. This worries me greatly. I think much of the housing plan, particularly with the idea that our requirement is that we must have provision and places to put these houses. We don't have to build them. And in this economy, I doubt that we're going to have many people jumping up and down wanting to build this kind of a facility. But when this is put in writing, in the plan, that we're going to encourage people by incentives to maybe put a little room or guest house, loosely speaking, on their property is of great concern. And I hope that that sort of thing will not just open up things that we're going to be very sorry about in the future. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close I'll close the public testimony portion of the public hearing and now ask for council discussion. Councilmember Herford.
Mr. Mayor, the concern we just heard is part of the reason I think years ago I didn't support the housing element adoption back then. However, some of the same people that spoke tonight are also the people that are suing the city of West Covina, or at least support a group that's suing the city of West Covina. Without a housing element, our city is subject to actually not, the court could basically say to us that we cannot issue any building permits. I mean, our hands are tied pretty much by the state of California. I mean, the elements that they have input into this through legislation are not what I would like to see in West Covina. However, we can't get our housing element adopted without those elements in there, so our hands are tied. And that's typically the way the state operates. They don't live here, so they take a blanket approach to every city in the state of California. So I think, first off, I'd like to say to staff and everybody who worked on this project, thank you. I know it's been a long process, and even though I agree with some of the residents, some elements that I don't like, they're not anything we can change, basically. We want a housing element, you got to meet the requirements of this thing. I will say about the city of West Covina, though, that we have added numerous housing projects. We're one of the only cities in the state of California just in compliance with the low moderate income portion. We do sensible development. Every development that comes through here, we scrutinize and is open to public hearing and review, and we are very conscientious of that. And I will say about our stock in the city, I've actually think our stock, or not our stock, but our quality of our neighborhoods is as strong now as it's ever been. People take care of their yards. We have a lot of good properties. We're addressing the issue with foreclosures, but housing prices have gone up a little bit, and hopefully they'll go up some more. But number one investment we all make in this community, if you're a homeowner, is your house, and you want to make sure that the quality of life and your investment are protected. So I will support the housing element tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with what is being said in reference to this housing plan, and I do appreciate staff's time. I know it's unfortunately something that we have no choice. This is a state mandated requirement. In the past, as a matter of fact, I was looking at an agenda from like 2004 or 5 when we looked at these before, and I actually voted no, but that doesn't do us any good. And it's really extremely frustrating, and I disagree with the fact that people won't be doing this, because I think they will, because right now housing is so expensive. So I'm seeing a trend in the area where I live, where you have bigger properties, people are building guest houses, probably several, and it's impacting our schools, and it's impacting our streets, and it's impacting our utilities. And again, we sit here, and it's extremely frustrating for us, because I don't think this is the right approach. However, we have to move in this direction, so our hands are tied. And I wanted to take that opportunity to explain to the residents so that you do understand we want to make the best decisions for our city. And this just continues forward, and hopefully we can catch it at our planning level, making sure that things are being done properly and safely, and to everybody that's concerned, as well as the school districts. I know over the years you've all seen the school districts adding trailers to their schools, and believe me, as a parent of 4 kids, that sometimes I have one at grade school, one at middle school, and one at high school, where I have to pick up all 3 of them. And those schools were not designed for the capacity of children that we have today. And it takes you an hour to pick up your kids. So I'm compassionate to the residents, and I'm unfortunately going to have to support that. And again, I think all the time and effort that has gone into this report, we do appreciate it very, very much. Thank you.
Councilmember Sotelo.
Mr. Anderson, in your report, so you're going to change, now you can actually have a granny flat behind your house and you can rent it?
Actually, our code already allows that, second units, and Council members Sanderson mentioned guest houses, which are 2 different things, but I won't go into any detail unless you want me to, but our code does allow second units in certain circumstances now. So That's a state mandate. We were required to do that, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago to allow it. So we're going to continue to allow that.
I realized a lot of it. I didn't realize that we were allowed to rent them, though. I thought you weren't allowed to rent those properties behind your house.
The guest houses you can't rent, but a second unit, if you get approval for that, you can rent that.
Okay, thank you.
Are you making any comments? The mayor gets to go last always.
Proceed, Mayor.
This is ironic. We're hearing this item today. You heard at the beginning of oral communications, one of the speakers talk about that lawsuit that is filed against the city. It's because we don't have a housing element plan. That's one of the justifications they're arguing in court. And then some of the people that are part of that association don't like what we have to do. It's just kind of ironic that you have to realize sometimes what is out there and what you're arguing prior to making the argument. You should have known what is being required. I disagree with whoever made the comment that someone may not be willing to build a homeless facility. There's probably $100 million right now of affordable housing money in the state that can build those. There's a ton of grant money for most of the things that were listed up there. Transitional housing, millions of dollars available to build that type of housing. Any type that deals with special needs, homeless, transitional, there's millions of dollars of grant money available to do that, and that's what we've always been concerned about. I was not supportive of the housing element before, but we're here today being sued because we didn't have an approved housing element plan. This is some of the things we were scared of. Now we're backed into a corner, and I am concerned. I disagree with some of the residents who spoke who say this probably isn't happening. It will happen. And it's all by right. They don't have to. We can't vote down, make sure you understand, we can't vote down the homeless shelters. By right, we have to approve them. They just have to comply wherever it is, but you can't. Our hands are tied. And that is one of the scary things about some of these things. Not that some of those people need assistance and stuff. It's scary. You know, just like with the homeless shelter, they said they push them out at 8 o'clock in the morning. They push them to the front door. Well, where do they go? You know, it is a problem. No matter what the schools think, we're under state mandate to approve this. It's not a matter of whether they approve or the police department approves or disapproves. We don't have a say. And that's where we're at today. We told everyone that ahead of time. Some people chose not to listen, but this is where we're at today. We have to approve something that's going to taste like bad medicine when these projects do start coming. And I think that you're going to see our whole area change. We have to build, as you've seen, 1,500 new units in West Covina somewhere by state law. We're one of the very few cities that have met our inclusionary housing goals. These are the brand new arena numbers. We've all protested these numbers, but we're still going down a path to meet our goals to do this. If you looked up there, the low income, we've actually met our goal. It was 0 for the future. Moderate and market will be much easier and much more palatable for the residents to absorb. Market rate units and moderate rate units, which are close to market. It's the very low income units, which cost an absolute fortune to buy down the rents. They can be somewhere around 30% of your gross income. So if you make $500 a year, you will pay $150 annually. I forgot their Section 402B units. I forgot what the number is of the federal government. They have, you just pay 30% of your gross income and you get to live in the units. They're 100% subsidized by the state, federal, and local governments. and they will change our community. There's good people in those units too, but it doesn't take many of those people in some of those units that can really run a city and community ragged. And like I said, I believe this is going to be a tough vote for me to make, because it is definitely swallowing a bad lump of medicine in this. And like I said, our community will be changed forever. But this is state law, and we need to think about the people that keep on voting all these different mandates. We're releasing all the prisoners. That's the new realignment, and no one realizes the impacts when they say crime's going up. Well, we don't arrest people no more. You arrest them, you put them in jail, they release them. I mean, it's just a never-ending circus, and those are the people we voted in office. They are releasing all of our prisoners. You know, how serious? Oh, you only beat somebody? Oh, okay, we'll let you go. That's scary. And that's why over the next 5 years you're going to see crime skyrocket with realignment and what the state government is doing to reduce their budget by releasing all the prisoners. And they have no one to watch over the ones they're releasing. They're supposed to be managed, but they don't have anyone hired to actually supervise them. And they're putting it all on the burden on local police departments. That's going to crush our police department, just like I believe some of these things in this housing element will do, but we're complying to state law. So I will be supporting tonight reluctantly. Do I have a motion?
Do we need a resolution or not? Reading?
I can read the resolution headings for you. It's Resolution 2012-83, a resolution of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, certifying the mitigated negative declaration of environmental impact for General Plan Amendment Number 0802, Code Amendment Number 12-01, and Zone Change Number 12-02 pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act of 1970 as amended. Second resolution, 2012-84, a resolution of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, approving General Plan Amendment Number 08-02.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes 5-0. A motion is in order to introduce the ordinance.
Do you want to read that or not?
An ordinance of the city, these are both introductions, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, amending Chapter 26 of the West Covina Municipal Code related to emergency shelter standards, supportive house standards, and mixed-use overlay standards. Second ordinance being introduced, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, approving zone change number 12-02.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 5-0. Drop down to item number 15, public hearing fee and charge. This matter set for public hearing consists of adopting a resolution of the City Council setting an increase in certain fees and charges. Will the city clerk verify that proper legal notice has been given?
Yes, that's verified.
At this time, I shall open the public hearing on this matter. It will first be the presentation of the staff report. Then we shall hear comments from the public. Mr. Pasmat, who will present the staff report.
Mr. Bachman will do that report.
No problem.
Okay, this is an order being brought forward to raise certain fees within the city. This is something we haven't done in a number of years, but as we evaluated this year, there are certain fees that needed to be increases to recoup the cost of delivering their services. There's also some new fees that we've added this year as well. So we'll touch on two different types of fees. There's a reasonable accommodation fee, and this is a fee for a process of allowing an individual with a disability or developers of housing for individuals with disabilities to seek reasonable accommodations to zoning standards based on the disability. That's one fee. Next is a placement of a stop sign to place stop signs for Southern California Edison during planned power outages. That's the cost of providing that service. The next new fee is a permit documentation retention fee. The building department of every city in the county must maintain copies of all the plans of every building during the life of the building for which the building issued a building permit, and this was a fee put in place to recapture the cost of retaining those records. The foreclosed property registration fee, another new fee, is a fee put in place to support the ordinance that was just passed earlier. It's a monitoring program put in place for foreclosed properties to make sure the upkeep is proper. There's a rental fee for the vacant fire administration office in the Chamber of Commerce building. These are fees that are similar to what we use for the rental of the community room here. And again, it's just establishing a fee for those facilities that previously did not have one. The last new fee is a business license fee. It was a fee implemented by Senate Bill 1186 that placed a $1 fee on any applicant of a local business for the purpose of increasing disability access and compliance with construction-related access requirements and developing educational resources for businesses to facilitate compliance with federal and state disability laws. Those are the new fees. There's a few fees that we've increased, and again, haven't done this in quite some time. Engineering fees are going to be increased by 3.8% to cover the cost of providing those services. Same for the building supplemental plan check and inspection fee, and the residential tree trimming and removal fee. Again, these are to recoup costs. Police fees are being increased in certain areas to recoup the cost. And finally, we are increasing the transport fees for our ambulance services to reflect the County of Los Angeles fees. That's my prepared presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Does the council have any questions to staff? Seeing none, I shall now open the public portion of this hearing. No one's filled out a speaker card, so will anyone come forward? Or does anyone want to come forward? We're not necessarily. Seeing no one, I shall now close the public testimony portion of the public hearing and ask for council discussion. Or if everyone's quiet, a motion to is in order to adopt the resolution.
Motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 401. Okay, drop down to item number 16, appointment of planning commissioner. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Freeland, you want to go ahead and do that report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. Before you this evening is the appointment of a planning commissioner for a vacancy that has occurred with the stepping down of Planning Commissioner Rudy Valles. City Council received 3 applications previously from the City Clerk's office for Lloyd Johnson, Herred Holtz, Ramsey Wright Farhat, and then we received notification, I believe, last Thursday that also Community and Senior Services Commissioner Paul Blackmore has expressed an interest. And I believe that application was forwarded to the City Council in the most recent weekly packet. Tonight, the City Council has before them the appointment of that vacancy. The City Council may appoint someone to that term, which will expire in March 2013, or you can leave that Planning Commission vacancy open until we make the appointments in March or April 2013 to renew those terms of existing commissioners for the city. At this moment, if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Does council have any questions of staff?
Those are the only applications you have?
That's correct.
Okay. Do I have any comments from any of my council members?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a nomination of Paul Blackburn.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, moved and seconded by Councilmember Herford. Is there, and before we close off, is there anyone else? Or do you just hear the first item?
No, you open the floor for other nominations if there are any.
Okay. Yes.
I think you all know Mr. Blackburn, correct?
Yes.
And is Mr. Blackburn here tonight? Where is he?
Mr. Blackburn was invited to come, but he's out of town this week for Thanksgiving.
He notified you of that? Good. If there's no other nominations, I'll close the floor for nominations. We have Paul Blackburn on the floor. All those in favor of nominating or voting on Paul Blackburn for the Planning Commission appointment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay. It is approved 4-1. I don't know what we have to do. Do we have to do a heading of the resolution, or is that fine?
It's resolution number 2012-86, resolution of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, appointing Paul Blackburn to the West Covina Planning Commission.
Okay. Item number 17, Tom Bachman.
This item is an amendment to the supplemental retirement plan for the City Council and executive employees. This plan was put in place in 2007, and it provides a supplemental retirement benefit for department heads that retire from the City of West Covina after working for a minimum of 5 years for the city. When the plan was adopted in 2007, it did not include the city manager. The attached amendment will implement the provisions of the city manager's employment agreement, as well as provide him with the same supplemental retirement benefit that is currently provided to department heads. This is the only change of the plan caused by this amendment, and it does not in any way change the benefits for the department heads or the city council. Just as a side, as a result of the Pension Reform Act, new department heads, council members, and city managers that are hired by the city after January 1, 2013 will no longer be able to participate in this plan. If there's any questions, I'll be
So it goes away for everybody.
It goes away for any new hires into the city.
Okay. Again, do I have any comments of the staff, or do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 5-0. Drop down to AB 1, 2, 3, 4 council reports.
Mr. Mayor, I think we have number 18 that was pulled
We
up.
have number,
I'm sorry?
yeah, former number 10.
That was just pulled off because you couldn't do it under consent, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
It's a resolution of intent to amend a contract between CalPERS and the City of West Covina. This is the police, the POA and PMA clarification, correct? Correct?
Yes.
Somebody?
Pardon me?
Okay, I know I'm almost out of here. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Passes 5-0. Number 18. Okay. We drop down to AB 1, 2, 3, 4 conference and meeting reports. Is there any reporting that needs to be done? Okay, we drop down to the next item, City Council request for reports, studies, or investigations. Is there anyone wishing to add anything here? Yes, Councilmember Sotelo.
I'd like to see if we can check in our emergency preparedness. And we have like a disaster we had back east, as they found out most of their emergency preparedness was outdated. And I'd just like to see if we can go over that and check that out.
You guys have that? Is there any other item anyone wishes to add? We'll drop down to council reorganization. Okay, we'll do the outgoing comments first, correct? I will be brief since I'll be doing them really on December 18th. And I just want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to serve as mayor here. I know we have a lot of great items on the horizon, a lot of new stores coming in, and I'm really glad I've gotten to participate in all that. And I do agree with what Lloyd was saying earlier about the veteran stuff. there was so many veterans things going on. The Field of Valor in Covina was just absolutely breathtaking. And it was just a neat thing to see. And I think overall there's a lot of good things going on in the city, which you're going to see a lot of new stores opening up. I think Mayor Sanderson will get to do a lot of grand openings. Normally this is always done against Steve Herford, and to my benefit, where we line up all the stores getting ready to open, and I get to open them all but all the work was done when Steve's mayor. This is a payback, I guess, for all those years now. The table's been set for Mayor Sanderson, and she's going to have a lot of great ribbon cuttings to do. So you got lucky, but there is a lot of great things out there. So I want to wish our next mayor best of luck, and may you have a great year. I won't get to be here for all of that time, but it's just it has been incredible serving with you, and I will save, like I said, those ending comments, like I said, because it is coming up soon enough. But thank you very much to all the residents. Thank you for electing me to my new office, for having the confidence in me. West Covina clearly put me by far over the top. And I know there's always been a lot of stuff going on here, and clearly with what's been said about us over the last year and a half, and to win West Covina like that, it shows that the people can see through all the junk that's put out there, and where people try to discredit people and the things they say about you over what you may have given here in your lifetime and what you've done, and people try to discredit you and what your accomplishments are. I'm very proud of this entire city council, all the previous councils I've served with. It's a great city, and hopefully people that love it so much wouldn't come up to the mic and destroy the city, because you may not like the politicians that are representing you, but don't crush the city. The city should survive no matter what. We may not be happy with the election that we just had November 6th, but the United States, the state of California, the county of Los Angeles, and the city of West Covina should always survive and always be far and above all the other rhetoric. And that's sad that people come up here and badmouth our city. I just don't know too many people that love something so much would come up here and badmouth the very thing they have made their home. It is, to me, you lose credibility. And unfortunately, I've known a lot of these people for many years, and it's just very sad that people come up here and distort your record and say things that are partial truths. You know, they just come up here and say whatever they want to, like I said, and I said it at some meetings I've had recently. In the last month, one lady told me to turn my back and my butt to the audience when I address them. I don't know if I want my kids being influenced by a lady like that, personally. Another gentleman who's been coming up here for years said I'm fat. I'm amazed someone who is an adult would come up and make a comment like that, because I know if a comment like that came from this seat, all hell would break out. How dare you talk about someone personally? And they make these comments like it's, I just don't know. I do not understand this generation of people that come up here, and like I said, in bad mouth by far one of the greatest cities in the state of California. So thank you, to credit to all my fellow council members and to our staff for everything you guys have done in making my year very special. So I appreciate that, and I look forward as we transition off here for our new mayor for another month and a half for me. But thank you for letting me serve you guys. We're going to drop down to the City of West Covina has an ordinance in place which has established an annual mayor selection process by rotation. Per the current succession list, Mayor Pro Tem Shelley Sanderson will become mayor, and Councilmember Steve Herford will become, it says Mayor Tim, but Mayor Pro Tem. A motion is in order to uphold the mayoral succession order appointing Shelley Sanderson as mayor and Steve Herford as mayor pro tem.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second, and order are made. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those not voting?
I said aye, it just
Okay.
was quiet. Sorry.
We had a quiet aye. That was 5-0. Okay, and I think we turn it over to Mayor Sanderson at this time. Congratulations, Shelley, on becoming mayor once again, and best of luck to you for your year.
Thank you, Mike. Well, I'm looking forward to a wonderful year. I have to say, I know I get to give you your plaque, and I don't know when. I guess I could start to do that now. I don't know if you want to stand or sit or
wherever we.
I'm going to go ahead and stand because I've been blessed to be on this council since 2001 and work with Mike. And you know, he had mentioned that people say things. And earlier tonight, we had all those baseball groups here and all the families. Those are the people that we work for. Those are the people that don't have the time to come to us, but trust us. And those are the people that Mike represents and has always represented. I wanted to say, there's a saying that says you can talk a lot, but actions speak louder than words. And not only actions, look at our city. Drive around. I was driving around today, and I've had people that were friends that come into West Covina and go, this is a really, really nice community. And I really attribute a lot of that to Mike. And what you've done for this community and all the years that you've been here. I mean, think about Big League Dreams. Think about all those things that weren't here because of you. And I am so honored to have been a part of that and to provide those things for our community. So this is a bittersweet evening for me, and I think for many of you that do love and appreciate Mike, that not only this plaque goes on your wall to remember all those wonderful things that you've done for West Covina and the friends you've made along the way and the people that you've helped. Think about that. Think about those people, because those are more than what does get said on occasion to hurt you. You have gone through so much in all the years that you've been on this council. You've been strong. You've been a good friend to talk to when, you know, things aren't going in a good direction, but from hurt. And you are just a strong, strong human being. And that's why you've come so far. And that's why you're moving on to the water board. And I am so honored to be standing here in representative of the city and the council to give you this plaque, to remember so many things you've done so good, Mike. I mean, I could go on for hours. Think about, and you know, in life, I think we as people, we have to feed on the positive, but unfortunately, sometimes the positive isn't always there, but then occasionally you get a nice letter or you get it. The majority of that is really what this is about and what you have done for this community. And I'm honored to give you your plaque for the city, on behalf of the city of West Covina, and not only giving you the plaque, that you are going to be missed so much you don't even know. You're an amazing man, and I'm so honored to have worked with you.
Thank you so much.
And it looks like I get to do a really long meeting this evening. I don't know if any of the other council would like to say anything about Mike. I know that I could, like I said, I could go on forever, and I apologize, but you guys don't even know how wonderful this has been working with Mike. Mike, thank you so much for everything. And Councilmember Herford.
Yeah, first off, I just want to thank Mike for a great year of leadership. We've, like every city in the state of California, have our challenges. About 3 weeks ago, I took a walking tour through City Hall with the city manager, and it was a real eye-opener. We've had changes at City Hall over the years, and it's kind of sad to see, you know, a whole floor pretty much vacant. We've gone from 400 employees to down around 300, and yet we still are doing a great job. You know, hopefully we can maintain that, and hopefully we can bring our levels back up. But this year saw some tremendous challenges for the mayor, and the one thing we're going to miss more than anything, I think, with Mayor Tui is economic development skills, his business acumen. When we lost redevelopment in this city, in every city, I mean, it just gutted municipal government. Governor Brown and the state legislatures, that many of them came from local government and know the value of the redevelopment program, and yet turned their back on the cities. And as a result, 3 have gone bankrupt and more are coming. But for Mike to lead us through that this year, I think was probably the biggest challenge we faced. And he continues to lead in that area by sitting on the advisory board, which is made up of people that aren't elected, that except for Mayor Tui, he's our appointed person there that represents our interests on that board. But the other people are political appointees that don't care anything about West Covina. They're just there for their political boss and do what the boss wants them to do, and it's controlled by the county. And so it's a real challenge. And Mayor Tui has kind of navigated the waters there and had some success, but it's a battle every meeting. And party politics enters into it tremendously, depending on whether you have a county representative that's a Democrat or Republican. It's 2 different animals. And so, you know, Mike, your skills with economic development and business acumen, I mean, they're second to none. And I think your legacy here in West Covina is that's the biggest part, but there's other parts too. You look around at all of our parks, and you know, you brought forth the dog park, the water park, and many other things. But I'm going to save most of my comments for the 17th. I think that that is your last meeting, and I don't want to go into too many of my emotional exploits, which...
Well, hopefully you'll be here on the 18th also.
Is that the date? Yeah. Okay. Well, see, that's what's good about Mike. He's pretty good with dates, so...
What are you going to do?
It's the only reason I support you. Jerk. Okay. Anyway, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilmember Sotelo.
Well, Mike, you know, it's been a pleasure serving with you. You know, you led. I've been working with you for years before you're mayor. But to actually come on the council, it was such a thrill to work with you. Like Steve says, there's so many things I could say right now. I'm going to save it for the 18th, not the 17th. And but I really like to thank you very much for everything you've done for the council and for the city over this last year. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Councilmember Sykes.
Thank you, Mayor Sanderson. Councilmember Tui, I first met you a little over 6 years ago, and at this time I'd just like to say I admire your skill sets, and we've disagreed a lot of times, but I know that going forward this city has gotten a lot from you, and we wish you the best. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Tui.
I just want to thank all my fellow colleagues. I understand it is different. Like I said, at these council meetings, it doesn't take much effort if we ever wanted to bring out hundreds of people at every council meeting also. I just have enough respect for my constituency that I don't need to sit here and have them all fill the audience every council meeting like some people try to push to act like we don't have support in the community. And I know all the sports leagues, like I said, and I do appreciate having them all come down. Sometimes people want to count heads, and when they want to count heads, we can go ahead and put 200 or 300 bodies in this at a blink of an eye anytime we want to. We try not to use our seats that way, but it is always possible. Everyone has plenty of supporters out there. My supporters choose to elect me and let me do what they think is best, not have to try to come down here and do that. So I appreciate all my supporters, the many people. I was just fortunate enough to get elected. And, I'm at 16,000 votes right now, and I greatly appreciate everyone who voted for me, because over 50% of them are West Covina residents.
Hey, thank you for everyone's comments. Really appreciate that tonight. I know we need to move down to the designation or an alternate to the Los Angeles County Sanitation District. I don't know if, I know normally it's the mayor and then Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a motion for?
I can make a motion to approve the older gentleman to my right. Not Rob, the other one.
The other- You have to be specific.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Mayor Pro Tem Steve Herford as the alternate for the County Sanitation
second.
District.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Okay, lastly, we are at the end of our agenda, and I would like to thank my colleagues for their vote of confidence, and please feel free to call me or talk to me, residents and council colleagues, if there's anything that we want to work on together. And our adjournments, if there's no other further comments, I have an adjournment, several adjournments. Our meeting in memory of the following individuals: longtime residents Beatrice Diuribe and Ann Butera, and Lakewood Councilmember Larry Van Nostren. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to their families during these difficult times. And on the end of the agenda is always difficult, and thinking about those families, and our prayers and thoughts go out to them. So with...
I will make a motion and also state that B.D. Reeve was an incredible lady here for many, many, many moons doing stuff. She made sure we put jacarandas on Glendora Avenue instead of palm trees. She was sick and tired of palm trees, and she would make sure you always heard her opinion. And like I said, you know, Steve and I have known Bea for 20-plus years, and she will clearly be missed, no different than Ann, who her husband's the president of the West Covina Senior Association at the Senior Center. Ann's is an incredible lady and will be clearly missed by her husband, Ken, and everyone else at the Senior Center that has known Ann. And Larry was a long-time serving council member in the city of Lakewood, and he will truly be missed by that community.
Thank you.
Madam
Is that
Mayor,
a motion?
one other thing, I'm sorry,
Yes.
just to make sure, because we did have one item left on a closed session, if you did want to address it tonight. I don't know if you want to.
I do.
City Council, yes, so we actually have a closed session item, so we'll adjourn to the closed session remainder of the meeting. I have motion
Yes.
That would be for the position of city manager.
for the position of city manager. Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you, everybody.